Good day, everyone, especially to you, sir. By the way, I am Rachel A. Kalyanga, and today I will be discussing the introduction to online literary practices. Linguistic shifts tend to be initiated by younger people as opposed to older people, and by women more often than men. To start with, it is important to understand that language is always changing. It is completely natural that the ways people speak and write have shifted over the years. Because of this, no matter which signed or spoken language you look at, there are usually noticeable differences in linguistic practices between older and younger generations, and even more dramatic differences between 21st century language and language from several hundred years ago. According to Gretchen McCullough notes, research in other centuries, languages and regions continues to find that women lead linguistic change, and dozens of specific changes in specific cities and regions. And yet, as we will explore further in Chapter 10, there are plenty of examples of language use online and elsewhere in which other factors, identities, or associations are more foregrounded than gender. Regardless of who is initiating the changes in online language use, one thing is clear. Conventions, especially for written language, are changing rapidly. So rapidly, in fact, that examples cited by scholars, and even some examples cited in this chapter, will often be outdated by the time they show up in print. There are two things about linguistic shifts of all kinds, including those that occur in online language use. First, changes in language use are usually accompanied by changes in social practices within a community and vice versa. So, language changes when people's lives change. The second one is whenever there are changes in how people talk, there will be opinions about those changes. There will be language ideologies. So people always judge new languages. So to understand further the examples presented in the rest of this chapter to be discussed by my co-members illustrate these points.
Hey everyone! So for my report for the day, we'll be talking about something we all actually do every single day without even thinking about it: the way we type online. Specifically, how capitalization, punctuation, and emojis have become their own kind of language. Let's get into it. So first, capitalization. We all know the standard rule, right? Capital letter at the start of a sentence. Capital for proper nouns. But online, it's a whole different story. Have you ever received a text in all caps? Yeah, that immediately reads as shouting. Or at the very least, someone being very intense. But here's the thing. Sometimes the person just doesn't know that convention exists. And that mismatch alone can cause misunderstandings. On the flip side, some people type in all lowercase, no capitals at all. And a lot of people assume that's just laziness. But actually, according to McCullough, in her book, because internet, choosing all lowercase takes extra effort because most of our phones auto-capitalize. So, it's actually a deliberate choice, a style. And then, of course, we have the classic random capitalization. We all know what that means. Mockery, sarcasm, that childish tone, no explanation needed. So, basically, how you capitalize or don't capitalize sends a message all on its own. Now, let's talk about punctuation. And this one is actually really interesting. Let's start with a period. Just a simple dot at the end of a sentence. In formal writing, it just ends the sentence. No big deal. But in texting, ending your message with a period has started to feel cold, passive aggressive, even angry. There's actually a journalist named Ben Crayer who wrote about this back in 2013. He said, and I'm paraphrasing here, that the period used to be the humblest punctuation mark, but now it's basically saying, I'm not happy about what I just said. Like, imagine someone texts you, we could do that, with a period, versus, we could do that, with nothing rather. You feel the difference, right? That period hits different. Then there's the ellipsis, the three dots. Older generations use it as a casual pause, like they're trailing off. Totally normal to them. But the younger people, we read ellipsis as ominous, suspicious, like something's wrong. There's also the tilde, this little symbol here. In English, it's now mostly used for sarcasm. Like, every character on that show has a tragic past. But interestingly, in Southeast Asian countries, including the Philippines, and in languages like Japanese and Tagalog, the tilde is still used to make words sound cute or playful. Same symbol, completely different vibe, depending on where you're from, rather. And of course, the hashtag. Sometimes it's just tagging an event, but other times it's commentary, humor, or an inside joke all packed into one little phrase after a pound sign rather. Okay, last part, emojis. And honestly, this might be the most relatable one. So why do we even use emojis? Simple. Text on its own is flat. When we talk face to face, we have facial expressions, tone of voice, body language. All of that gets lost when we're just typing. Emojis bring some of that back. They act as what textbook calls meta commentary. They add a layer of tone on the top of the words, like the difference between saying okay and okay and okay. Three completely different messages. Emojis are also classified as iconics, meaning they look like the thing they represent. A coffee cup looks like a coffee cup. A heart looks like a heart. That's what makes them so universal and easy to understand across languages. So, to bring everything together, capitalization, punctuation, and emojis are not random. They are not mistakes. They are a system, a constantly evolving, highly context-dependent system of communicating tone, identity, and meaning online. And here's the bigger takeaway from our reading today. When people judge how others type online, whether it's why are they typing in lowercase or why do they use so many emojis, Those judgments aren't really about the typing. They are about how we perceive the people doing it, their age, their background, and what group they belong to. Which means online writing isn't just linguistics, it's also social, it's also cultural, and it's always changing. So that's my report for today. Thank you for watching.
Good day everyone, especially to you sir. By the way, I am Johnny Chargi Mabala. Today we're gonna discuss all about online communities, social media and relationship. Overview of online communication and social media focuses on linguistic practice, affordances, and media ideologies. This presentation it explains how people communicate and build relationship online through social media and digital platform. It also explains how technology shapes communication and how people react to these changes. Next, we have Introduction to Online Communities. Online communities are formed through digital communication. Relationships are built text, images, audio, and videos. Social media connects people across distance. Online communities allow people to interact and form relationships even when they are far apart. Communication is no longer limited to face-to-face interaction because people can now connect through different online platforms. So next, we have speech community in the digital age. Traditional speech communities need revision for online spaces. Communication include writing, emojis, image, and videos. Online interaction create new identities and connection. In the past, speech communities focuses mainly on spoken language. Today, online communication include many forms such as typing, posting picture, and sharing videos, which all influence how people communicate each other. So next, we have the role of writing and multimedia. Writing is central in online communication. Platforms combine text, audio, image, and videos. Zoom and video conferencing became important during the pandemic. Social media online platforms allow people to communicate using different media formats. During the coronavirus pandemic, online communication tools become essential for education, work, and social interaction. So next, we have the concept of affordances. Affordances are possibilities and limitations created by technology. Platforms influence communication styles. Features affect how users interact online. Each social media platforms has unique features that shape communication. These features influence how users express themselves and interact with each others. Twitter as an example. Twitter allows short message and interaction. Features include retweets, replies, and likes. Character limits encourage concise communication. So when we say Twitter, it designed encourage user to share short and direct message. The platform features influence how discussion and information spread online. So next, we have technology is not neutral. Technology is an influence by social and cultural factors. Different platforms shape interaction differently. TikTok focuses on videos while Facebook support discussion. Technology affect communication because each platform is designed differently. Social, political, and cultural influence also shape how people use technology. So next, we have media ideologies. Media ideologies are beliefs about communication technologies. People opinion affect how they use media similar to language ideologies. People develop opinions about technologies based on their experiences and belief. Those opinions influence how they communicate online and how they view social media. Next, we have concern about the internet. Some researchers believe that internet affect attention span. Nicholas Carr argued that online browsing reduces deep thinking. Concern focuses on recognition and social interaction. Some experts worry that internet use encourages people to skim information quickly instead of thinking deeply. Otherwise, believe these concerns are part of the society adjustment to new technology, historical reaction to new technology. New technologies often create fear and criticism. People once worried about typewriters and telephones. Society eventually adapt to technology changes. Throughout history, people have feared that new communication technologies would negatively affect society. Over time, many of these technologies become accepted and normalized. So next, we have telephone and internet comparison. The telephone changed communication across distance. The internet similarly transformed communication. Both disrupted traditional communication norms. The invention of the telephone allowed people to communicate instantly over long distances. The internet created similarly changes by allowing real-time global communication. So next, we have the modern internet problems. Issues include privacy, misinformation, and identity. Social media affect relationship and public opinion. Online communication continues to evolve. Modern internet concerns include fake information, online identity, and privacy issues. These challenges continues shape discussion about social media and communication. In conclusion, online communication continues to grow and evolve. Affordances and media ideologies influence interaction. Understanding online communication help explain modern society. Social media and online communities are now major parts of daily life. Studying these concepts help people understand and how communication changes in the digital age.
So good day everyone. Today I will be discuss the chapter Who's Zooming Who. This chapter explores how video conferencing technologies such as Zoom became a major part of everyday life during the COVID-19 pandemic. The author examines how these technologies affected the communication, relationships, and social interaction. The chapter also discusses the phenomenon known as Zoom fatigue and explains why many people found video meetings mentally exhausting. So, in early 2020, the COVID-19 pandemic changed the way people interacted. Because of lockdowns and social distancing measures, many activities found that were previously done face-to-face had to move online. Schools held virtual classes, Businesses conducted meetings through video calls and families used online platforms to stay connected. One of the positive effects of video conferencing was that it helped families maintain relationships despite physical distance. When parents, children, and relatives could communicate through video calls when in-person visits were impossible. So the image here in the chapter shows family members participating in a Zoom call together. This example demonstrates how technology help people remain socially connected during a period of isolation. So the image here in the chapter shows family members participating in a Zoom call together. This example demonstrates how technology help people remain socially connected during a period of isolation. What is Zoom fatigue? Researchers began using the term Zoom fatigue to describe the exhaustion people felt after participating in multiple video meetings. According to journalist Susan Blum, 2020, many individuals found video conferencing more tiring than face-to-face communication. So the case one here is disrupted communication. So one reason for Zoom fatigue is the disruption of natural communication patterns. So the researchers have found that face-to-face conversation involve precise timing when people take turns speaking. During video conferencing, small delays in audio and video transmission can interrupt this process. So the case 2 here is eye contact challenges. Another issue involves eye contact. In face-to-face communication, eye contact plays an important role in showing attention, interest, and emotional connection. During a video call, however, people usually look for the image of the other person on their screen instead of directly at the camera. As a result, true eye contact is different to achieve. Participants may feel less connected to one another because the visual cues that normally help build relationships are reduced or altered. The chapter suggests that this difference contributes to the feeling that online interactions are less natural than in-person conversation. So in the case 3, seeing yourself constantly. So the chapter also discusses the effect of self-view. Unlike face-to-face conversations, video conferencing platforms often display a live image of the user throughout the meeting. This means that people are constantly watching themselves while also trying to communicate with others. So research discussed in the chapter suggests that this can increase self-awareness and self-consciousness. Individuals may spend extra mental energy thinking about how they appear to others instead of focusing entirely on the conversation. Next, blurring social rules. So the pandemic also changed the boundaries between different social environments. Before COVID-19, people usually attended school, work at offices, and socialize in different or in separate physical spaces. During lockdowns, many of these activities occurred through the same computer in the same room. So a person could attend class, participate in work, meeting, and chat with friends all from the same location. So this blending of social rules made it difficult for people to separate work, school, and personal life. Researchers believe that this overlap contributed to feelings of stress and burnout. So other source of stress is the chapter emphasizes that Zoom fatigue was not caused solely by video conferencing technology. People were also experiencing other challenges related to the pandemic. Many worried about their health, the health of the family members, financial difficulties, and childcare responsibilities, and social unrest occurring during that time. So researcher Zhang, 2020 argues that these broader social pressures must also be considered when examining the effect of video conferencing. The fatigue people experience was often the result of multiple factors working together. So, in conclusion, chapter Who's Zoom in Who demonstrate how video conferencing transformed communication during the COVID-19 pandemic. While technologies such as Zoom help people stay connected, they also introduce new challenges. Researchers identified several factors that contributed to Zoom fatigue, including disrupted conversations, difficulties with eye contact, constant self-view, and blending of social environments. So it shows that technology influences not only how people communicate but also how they experience relationships, work, education, and everyday life. Understanding these effects helps us better appreciate both the benefits and limitations of digital communication. Thank you.
Good day everyone, especially to you, Sir Janelle. So in this video, this will be the continuation of our report, and my assigned topic is online avatars. So what is online avatars? Online avatars are digital characters or personas that users create and control in online environments, particularly in games and social media platforms. Avatars are not merely visual representations, but extensions of identity, communication, and social interaction. At first, players may see avatars as separate or unfamiliar entities. However, as users gain control and become emotionally attached to them, they begin to identify with these digital characters. Manning and Gershon describe this as producing a composite hybrid agent known as a player character. This means the avatar becomes partly the player and partly a fictional digital identity. Now, here are the two main concepts related to online avatars. First, we have player characters. So, a player character is the main avatar controlled by the user. Players often strongly identify with their main characters, and player characters has its own characteristics. It represents the player's primary identity in the game, controlled directly by the user, seen as an extension of themselves, often referred to using the pronoun I. For example, a gamer a gamer playing Rhizome may say, "I defeated the enemy," or "I traveled to another region." Even though the action was performed by a digital character, the player speaks as if the avatar is themselves. This shows deep identification between the user and the avatar. The second one is the alternate characters or alts. Unlike the main player character, alts are usually secondary characters less emotionally connected to the player. It is used for support tasks or experimentations. In Rhizome, alts mainly serves as silent alt servants. These alts perform actions for the main character but were not treated as full identities. So here are the characteristics of alts. Functional rather than personal, controlled tools instead of self-representations, often referred to as he, she, or they, considered separate from the player's true identity. For example, a player may have one main warrior character, several alternate characters used for gathering resources or trading. The player identifies emotionally with the warrior but treats the elves as assistants. Moving on, we have animation and performance. Manning and Gershon used two important concepts to explain online avatars. Number one, we have animation. Animation refers to bringing the avatar to life through control and interaction. The concept comes from Irving Goffman's participation framework, where the animator is one who physically produces speech or action. In online games, The player animates the avatar. The player acts through the player's commands, or the avatar acts through the player's commands. The player may not fully identify the character. For example, a user controlling an alt to complete repetitive task is animating the character without emotionally becoming that character. Or the avatar acts but it doesn't represent the player's identity. Next is performance. Performance refers to how a person actively presents and performs identity through an avatar. Unlike animation, performance involves emotional and personal identification. Example, players using their main character may express personality traits, like build relationships, create reputations, experience emotional attachment. The avatar becomes a performed identity rather than just a tool. So, in conclusion, this module presents online avatars as powerful digital identities that influence communication, behavior, and self-perception. In games like Rhizome, avatars become extensions of the self, while alternate characters function as controlled tools. On social media, users maintain multiple personas to satisfy different audiences and social expectations. The concept of animation and performance revealed that online identity is both controlled and acted out. Furthermore, platforms like Instagram and Facebook shape how individuals present themselves and interact with others. Overall, these modules demonstrate that online avatars are not simply fictional characters but important social and psychological representations of identity in digital age. And that's all my report. Thank you.
So today we are going to talk about so close and yet so far. We are going to discuss how social media and communication technology affect migrants and researchers. Even though technology helps people stay connected, it can also create emotional distance. So, does technology make people feel closer to home? The study by Karim Zaz and Kita Joro explained technology helped migrants to talk to the family more often, see photos and videos, stay updated about home, but sometimes they feel sad, they feel different from family, they feel disconnected. Long ago, people only used letter or expensive phone calls so they communicate less. But now, migrants can video call daily, send message, see family picture online. So this sounds good. There is also a problem. Social media sometimes remind migrants that their lives are changing and becoming different. For example, a student moves to another city. At first, they talk to old friends online every day, but slowly they realize everyone's life has changed. For example, kang Muhigol story. So who is Muhigo? So Muhigo is a 35 years old woman from Uzbekistan living in the USA and uses Facebook to stay connected. So what happened to Muhigo? She noticed a big difference between friend in Uzbekistan and friend living in America. Muhigo liked talking to the family online because it's make her feel close to home. But Facebook also show her that people in Uzbekistan live differently now. This make her think my life is not the same as theirs anymore. Because of this, she feel both close and far at the same time. This is called mixed feelings. So social media show difference. It show how life change. People in Uzbekistan marry younger, have children earlier, care more about expensive clothes and status, while friends in America, they live simple, have different lifestyle. Before social media, migrant only saw family during visit, so different were not very obvious. Now every day on Facebook or Instagram, migrants see wedding picture, family celebration, different lifestyle. This remind them, wow, my life is really different now. Sometimes they can make them feel lonely and disconnected. So, what is the meaning of so close and yet so far? If we say so close, it means technology help people to talk instantly, video call family, share photos, while yet so far, people may still feel it's emotional distant, different from family, less connected culturally. Technology brings people physically closer, but not always emotionally closer. Example, imagining calling your cousin every day, but you no longer understand each other because your life changed a lot. You are close online but far emotionally. That is the meaning of the title. So technology has a sign of change. So technologies show how life has changed. Technology is not only for communication, it also shows different habit, different belief, and different lifestyle. If migrant video call family, they may notice change. For example, parents behave differently, friends have different priorities, and culture change over time because they see it in the video call or in the Facebook. So technology helped them see this change very quickly. So technology become a mirror showing how life has changed. So the researcher encountered a problem. Researchers sometimes had participants on Facebook follow them online, and learn personal information. Researchers study people to understand society, but social media create problem. The participant may not want this information included in the research, so researcher must be careful and respectful. So, si Gabriela Modan have a idea. She said that researchers should know the difference between the data and the background information. If we say data, it is the information mean for the research, while the background information, it is a private information not mean for the research. So, because researcher can see different online, does not mean they should use it. Researchers see a participant are going with the family on Facebook. Should this be included in the research? Maybe not, because it is a private information. Researchers should respect trust and privacy. So, in conclusion, what is the really main point of this? So, technology help migrant emotionally connected, or it make them stay connected, but people may still feel emotionally distant. Social media also show cultural difference and more clearly. Researchers must protect the privacy online. So technology is a powerful tool. It helps people stay in touch with the family and friends anywhere in the world. But sometimes technology also reminds people how much life had changed. This is why they can feel so close yet so far. Social media, in conclusion or in the summary, social media help migrants communicate with the family, but it can also make them feel different from home. Researchers also need to be careful about privacy when using social media.